and welcome to Silver Sunday. This Sunday night, where's my calendar? On June the 19th. Hello, everyone, and welcome. And I am so stoked to see a couple of faces here that we don't normally get to see. So I am excited. Before we get them to have their voices on stream, shout out to our sponsor, Daytona Beach Comic Con. If you like comic books and you are in the Central Florida area, make your plans in September 10th and 11th to come to Daytona Beach Comic Con and see a bunch of indie folks and see Silverline. We're going to be there. There's going to be about Baker's
I think
dozen.
about 100 people, 100 Silverliners.
Yeah, there's a bunch of us. Yeah. Also, shout out to Orlando Collector Deviants. If you are a fan of geeky stuff, you should follow Orlando Collector Deviants. They often will go to shows that you can't make it. And one of the things that I like to see are Steve's walkthroughs. He'll take his GIM and he'll walk through and let you see all the stuff that you're missing because you're not there. If you are in Orlando and you are looking for Silverline Comics, please make your way over to Coliseum of Comics. They're actually in two locations. You can find Silverline Comics on East Colonial, the Coliseum of Comics on East Colonial, and you can find them, we just learned a couple weeks ago, in Claremont. So two locations. We're going to work to increase that. I think there are, what, Tommy, about 10 Coliseum stores?
There's a bunch of them.
Something like that. So we're going to work to get them in all 10, but right now they're in 2. So, and then of course, lastly but not leastly, shout out to Kablam for their awesome printing work. If you are an independent comic creator and you need your comic book printed, you should look no further than Kablam. They can handle all of your comic book printing needs. So
as long as we can find paper, yeah, that's that's been our slowdown lately. Is that there's still a paper crunch, so we're still every day we're still looking for paper. So
and much appreciated.
Yeah. Actually, I really like the paper that because I noticed it was a little bit different that our last Silverline books were printed on. They had this slightly different interior feel. It didn't feel quite glossy.
Because that's more of what we used at the very beginning before we switched over to that all gloss on the inside. But I know too. I do too. But people, the toner at our machines. Yeah, we're getting into the pet peeves now. The toner that our machines use are already so glossy. So it's you already get it, regardless of the paper. You're still getting a gloss. It's a glossy finish anyway.
Yeah.
And we've as you know, we've got new machines now.
Yeah.
So we're even though everything is kind of crazy in the supply chain of everything, we're still going forward and getting new machines, and we got a bunch of a new cover feature things that we're going to do, including like full stamping kind of stuff.
Yes.
So, yep.
All right, well, introductions are due here. I'm Roland Man. I'm your host for tonight. We'll be talking about Pet Peeves. I'm joined, as usual, by Thomas Flormonte, who you've heard talking. Thomas, say hi to everybody.
Hi, everybody.
And we are also joined this week by Mike W. Belcher. Mike, say hi.
Hi, everybody. Long time no see.
Long time no see. We are so stoked that you have joined us. And a guy that we thought had fallen into the Mississippi River, Wubba.
Not yet.
Wubba, say hello, Wubba.
Hello, Wubba.
Hello.
Hey, Wubba.
It's good to see you, sir. You've got some additional facial hair, I think, from the last time you were on, huh?
Life, man.
Life.
It's life. That's right.
Well, I know that
More relevant and greater.
That's true. That's true.
That is true.
We could be like my father-in-law and get mascara and put it in your facial hair.
Oh, I hope is he watching tonight?
I don't know. I hope he is.
No, I even though it really PO my wife off, I told my daughter that if I was gonna dye it, I'd dye it pink or blue or something.
Yeah. Some artsy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be
I think
hip.
I'd go with, yeah. Just be careful. Don't go with the old lady blue.
Oh, that's
Right.
true.
If you go with blue, get a good solid, kind of a darker blue, but don't go with the old lady blue.
Well, yeah. I'm waiting for football season to kick in again. I'll dye it Atlanta Falcon colors.
Okay, there you go.
That'd be cool.
I guess I would have to dye mine Razorback red, huh? If I dyed mine, I'd have to dye mine Razorback.
Well, you
red.
already got
By
the
way,
gray going.
Gray's not one of their colors.
It is on that hat.
I know it is, but that's not one of their colors. Any of you guys watching college baseball? I know Tommy's not. Yeah. No, okay. Arkansas is in the College World Series. Oh, look at that. Mike Weskovich is listening, so maybe he heard the mascara comment. What's up, Screw Loose? Good to see you here. You guys need to keep him in your thoughts and prayers this week, as he's got some medical things he needs to take care of. So
Yep.
yeah. And then we've got Oven. Oven says, "Hello, Silverline family. What's up, Oven? Good to see you. Oven's been popping in again lately. He was missing for a while, Oven. We missed you." And we've got the "What's up, Big Dummy" stand-in message.
I didn't know your father-in-law was on, so I was going to help him out and get the message in.
Yeah. So what's new for you, Wubba and Mike? You guys want to fill us in? Kind of talk to us a little bit. Anything you can tell?
Well, it's not new. I'm almost got issue 4 done.
Yes. Cool.
Yes.
That's what I'm working on right now.
Nice. And is that a electronic? Is that a tablet you're working on there?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
The whole book's been Wacom just because it's easier.
Can you broadcast? Do you want to Can you share while
No,
you're doing this? Do you know?
I'm broadcasting off my phone.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tommy could probably walk you through how to hook up your Wacom to the.
I don't know how you could hook it up to the phone.
I've broadcast before when I was on regular. I've broadcast before.
Yeah, I think if I recall correctly, and sorry for those of you who listen, if I recall correctly, you log in separately, don't you? You log your tablet in separately.
No,
because you don't.
Yeah, you can do it that way. The other way that I used to do it before I kind of disappeared off the show was I just screen shared. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
From your tablet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, his tablet's connected to his computer, and he's just sharing that application to the stream. Yeah.
Okay.
The way I'm doing it is I'm sharing my iPad to going from Apple to Windows, so I'm sharing my iPad with my computer, my laptop, and then sharing it using a third application to do it. So that's why. Yeah.
Well, what about you, Mike? Anything new you care to share?
It's just been I've been a little bit since I've been on here. Just lettering stuff and doing logos, and then working on my own book, Man the Mask.
Yeah, Man the Mask, which we are big fans of course.
And
now you guys have Aiden's actually in college now, right?
Well, actually, yeah, this is his beginning. This is beginning of his third year.
Good night.
No kidding. Well, I was thinking the other day, when we were going through the con, and we've not seen each other in person in 3 years. I can't believe it's been 3 years since we've actually how fast it's gone since 2019 and everything in between. So yeah, he started that summer, act fall, and here he is.
Goodness. Yeah, that's is he excited to graduate?
Oh yeah. But it's still, school's still a thing for him. It's just something he does. But hey,
Well, I didn't like high school.
Yeah.
But I liked college. I liked because that's where I met. That's where I met Tommy. That's where a lot of my Stephen Butler, met Stephen there.
Yeah.
Met a lot of my my friends that I still talk with today. So I enjoyed college. I probably didn't study as much as I should have.
No, I know I
Me
do.
too. Yeah.
But I did learn, but I enjoyed it. I guess mostly because you had that freedom, and I was doing stuff that I kind of wanted to do, and I was meeting people, and yeah, I enjoyed college a lot. So I know Aiden's having a good time.
Oh yeah, he's liking the same thing I did when I liked was the flexibility. It was after you go from high school, that rigid schedule and having to be there all day long, and then you can kind of pick and choose when you go, if you go,
right,
and that kind of thing. Because I was saying, well, I enjoy college. I enjoyed the definitely the change of attention.
Yeah. Well, I think to me, one of the things about once you got to college, you got to poke around in college. One of the things I figured out is that there's so much wasted time in high school.
Yeah.
There's so much because structures of high school, the parameters of what they've got to do. There's just so much wasted time. And so that's I think is one of the things I liked about college more. That they didn't, or at least back then, they didn't beat around the bush. Or like, here's the stuff, let's learn it, let's go.
Yeah.
So, well, tonight's going to be an interesting subject. We're going to talk about pet peeves of independent comics. Now, you guys know we're Silverline Comics, so we're not going to try to. I mean, obviously, the pet peeves are kind of by default a little negative, but we're not going to call people out. We're not going to say, oh, this thing here, this book or this creator, I don't like. But we can talk about the things that they do in independent comics, because I think there's a lot of that we as both creators and readers, consumers of that, can point out, and hopefully, fingers crossed, some of the folks who create independent comics will hear the things that we're saying and take that to mind in their own creations. So pet peeves by default is a little bit negative, but we're trying to just don't call anybody out. That's not what we want to do. We probably could do that, but we're not going to. So anybody want to start? Anybody want to jump in first, or gonna wait and see what I say?
Yeah, start us out. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So one of my pet peeves in comics in general, and Tommy and I talked about this a little bit. Do we have to talk about independent comics? Well, comics in general, but I see it more in independent comics is when the writer fails.
You want me to share a screen, by the way?
Yeah, if you will.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Let me get something going.
When the writer fails to equip the reader with the information that they want to read. Now, let me give you some hints. And let me also say that part of my teaching job, one of the things I get to do, and this is the fun part of my teaching job, I get to assign students comic books to read. They read comic books weekly. Right now, because of the nature of my class, it has to be free comics, which, by the way, Mike, Man in the Mask is on the list. I think I may have told you that earlier.
You did.
Yeah, Man in the Mask is on that list. And so one of the things I get to see, and this has been going on for years. One of the things I get to see is I get to see the students most of who don't read comics that much. Some do, but most of them don't. They read them and then they're like, here's what I read, here's what I got. And it was really eye-opening to me when they read them and like, I have no idea when this story took place. I have no idea where this story took place. I have no idea what this main character's name is, right? it's about a dude that goes through and does his, and they can sometimes, they can tell you kind of the things that happen, but when you realize that the writer did not establish, and this is a thing that as storytellers, we're taught from day one, establish, right? Establish. And it's surprising to me to see so many independent comics not do that. And you're looking at, like, I don't know where this is. I don't know when this is. The art looks good. And you're like, the story might be good if I knew what was going on, but I don't know who these people are. And so I see that a lot. That's a pet peeve of mine. And it's funny because I think I probably knew it, but I didn't really recognize it until I really started seeing students point it out. They're like, hey, I don't know, I read this, but I don't know anything about it. And let's see here. Here we go. And that's when I kind of started noticing a lot of that. What do you guys, you agree with me, disagree with me?
I agree. A lot of times that, I think a lot of people use indie publishing kind of like a crutch. It's like, well, I'm the lone little Indian, so I'm not supposed to follow these because you're supposed to maybe respect me for my independence. And I found that a lot. I try not to be as harsh on that stuff because it's hard, doing the job and sitting down and doing it. And you're the one person trying to keep it all straight. Sometimes it's not easy. Yeah. But there is a preponderance of books that look really good. But when you pick it up and you're going through it, it's a very professional looking product. But as far as when you get down to the story, sometimes it does become, okay, well, I didn't know who is this and where did this come from? And the stuff that of course, by very questioning that, it makes me very conscious to make sure someone doesn't worry about that for my stuff.
Right.
But as a reader, you're kind of like, well, it was almost there. It was there. But again, I find a lot of people when they release their stuff, it's like, well, I'm just the indie guy, but enjoy what I'm doing. Well, you're trying to entertain me,
Yes.
So I see what you're saying. I think there's something that there's a deal you're making with your reader. You're kind of saying, well, it's my job to convey the stuff that you don't know about. And, either I do it visually or I do it within the captions or the dialogue. And like I said, sometimes some people, their ambitions are great, and I respect them because then indie publishing isn't easy.
No, it's tough.
But I see exactly what you're talking about. There's just some things that the contract with the readers kind of been lapsed. You're kind of wondering, okay, well, I want to know a little bit more, but I'm not getting it.
Well, let me ask you a question. So, and some of you kind of, you didn't say exactly what I'm about to say, but you kind of danced around some of it. It's like the indie creators, like, hey, I'm the indie guy, so I don't have to do this, right? Do you think that's a valid for the indie creators that say that? Do you think that's a valid excuse?
I don't think it is because the way I look at it, my stuff I do for me. But I also know that someone's plunking down some pretty good piece of money for me, and I respect it. And I also feel like I've got to make it better, if I lapse on something or if I do something. So yeah, I think it's a bit of an excuse. I believe it's something that, again, once I respect anybody who tries this.
Absolutely.
It's extremely hard. But upon doing it, you also have to realize there are certain obligations. If this person, especially if you want them to return to you, especially if you want them to come back for your second issue or so far down any other product you might do, you're going to make them kind of second guess themselves because they're kind of wondering, okay, well, there were certain things about this book that I wanted to like, but I just felt like, they didn't take it serious. Because, I think, because, we're somewhat the same generation. That was the thing, when I was young, looking at indie comics on the shelves in the 80s and looking them next to Marvel books or DC books. And that's the reason that, when you're young, you're looking at these black and white books, and you're also, you're kind of, especially the self-published stuff, you're saying, well, you know, Marvel and DC are run by professionals and they've got editors and they've got all this experience, and then these indie guys. So, you know, as a young person, you're kind of thinking, well, my value is better spent with the big guys. So that's what the big guys have kept with over the years. You know, that's what keeps the big guys in that excuse that, you know, they're the professionals and indie guys are not. And I kind of hate that. I really, because I think, you know, I have seen so many good professional products. I mean, it's hard to say that, but indie publishing has that kind of reputation as quality not always there because of, again, the idea that you can ride the coattails of the cause. You know, you're supporting. I mean, many people with certain Kickstarters, I shouldn't go there. Okay,
that's okay. Just don't name names.
I'm not naming names, but you know, but I think a lot of Kickstarters survive on that. That maybe the quality isn't there, but maybe the cause is.
Yeah.
You know, and then I think that's, again, we're in the entertainment business. Whether we're big,
woohoo, we're independent. Support us.
Yeah. So again, we also have to fulfill the other side of it, because I much rather, you know, someone tell me that what they were entertained and you know, it's like with lettering. You know, I've always had the opinion that if somebody could make it through anything I've lettered and they didn't see anything, that means I did my job.
Yeah.
So if they could read one of my comics and they didn't have any questions, I think I did my job.
Lettering is kind of like the bass player, right? Is it?
Yeah.
You don't want to notice. You don't want to notice the letters. That's a good letter, right? But if you notice the letters and like, something.
Exactly. On my list over here, that is one of my pet peeves is
lettering.
Lettering, yeah. If the book is.
We'll get there in a minute. Yeah. We'll get there in a minute.
You brought it up. Y'all brought it up.
So, what do you think?
That's pretty much my only pet peeve right there. Is that whole, well, I'm indie, so I can just do whatever I want, not follow any rules.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, that's coming from me, and I love underground comics.
Sure, yeah.
Love indie books.
I think all of us do here, you know.
But, you know, growing up, I mean, I was reading everything from like Boneyard Press and, you know, all that underground stuff. And it was all professionally done.
Mm-hmm.
From the lettering, the sling, everything. So, I mean, if a company like that can do it, there's no reason for anybody else not to be able to do it. I mean, you got to give it a little love. I mean, if this is the career that you're picking, and this is what you want to do, you got to show some love and some respect for it. You know?
Yeah. I agree with that. Ryan Permisson says, "Happy Sunday, Silverline family." Happy Sunday, Ryan. Thank you for popping in, sir. I got to get you a list of names for you. So don't think I didn't see your message. I did. Okay, so Tommy, you want to hit the lettering then?
No, yeah. When if you get to, you know, I see a lot of books. So, but then, and this is the part of the conversation that I don't want to get too deep into, because that's my other business. So I don't want to, you know.
So but can we mention that? Are you okay? I mean, we kind of mentioned it at the outset anyway, right?
Oh yeah, I'm co-owner of Kablam Digital Printing. So you know,
when you see a lot of books.
I see
a lot of books.
I see lots and lots of books.
And you don't read them all, but you see them.
No, you know, at the beginning we tried. Barry, my business partner, you know, we were like, you know, one of the coolest parts about doing Kablam is all the cool books. You know, we're not a comic shop, but for us it was a comic shop because we could just read books, you know, all the time. But when it kind of, if a book's not lettered nicely, you know, even if it's a font or if you pick especially if you pick a bad font and it just looks really bad, it's like I can't read them. You know, it's like oh golly, even if it's you know, it's gotta look, and that goes back to that professional thing that we were talking about a little bit ago.
It doesn't have to look like John Workman, right?
No, it just needs to be neat, and you got to be legible, and you don't use like a font that's like a 0.2. or something like that. You know, a size on a 300 dots per inch image. You know, something that's like microscopic. I mean, you know, I'm going through vision problems with cataracts and stuff. I don't need to be struggling to try to read somebody's tiny font, you know, that they've picked, or an ugly font, or you know. Yeah, so fonts to me, it's a big thing. If it's not lettered, and you got word balloons scattered all over the place, not leading the story properly, you know, making you read through the panels.
God, understand the Z pattern.
Well, or any pattern.
Well, so I'm going to say something. You guys tell me if you agree with it or not. So I think I have a little bit more forgiveness for lettering for independent comics pre-computer age. Because now I say a little bit, because lettering is a tough job. It is a tough job, you know.
Yeah.
Hand lettering, and Mike was a hand letterer back in the day, and so for me, it's like, okay, we have the equipment now, we have the technology. It's not really that hard to, and there's free fonts out there you can get legally, so right. It's like
there are, yeah.
When I see a bad
font, the ones that you got to pay for, they're not that you can use commercially.
Yeah,
are still really cheap.
Yeah,
it's like, just pick a nice one. Come on, do me a favor.
I usually, I think it's Blambot, right? No, Blambot.
That's one of them.
Yeah, you're right.
Who does the January 1st sale?
Oh, that's Comic Craft.
Comic Craft. Yeah,
lots of great stuff there.
Yeah. So I usually, I did this last year, but for 4, 5, 6 years, drop $100 because they have a sale on January the 1st, and that's but the thing is that it's so readily available. So if you're doing a comic book today,
yeah,
why are you using Times New Roman?
Well, what is the one? Comic Sans, isn't that the one?
That's the one.
But I'm
even okay with that because it kind of looks like a comic book font.
Yeah, but then you had golly, what was the big one that was selling in the 90s? I think I posted it in our stream not too long ago.
Oh, the one that was always in the Comics Buyer's Guide?
Yeah, so you can get it on the disc that everybody had and was using, but it was pretty good, and that was only like $15 or whatever, and I forgot what the name of it was, but get a font, get something that looks good, just for me, and don't use type 4 font size. Do something a little bigger.
Yeah. Oven Reed says, I can't do bad grammar. Oh my gosh.
Oh God, don't read my books because I leave the spellings in. I'm terrible. I am so bad.
And Barry's right there beside you. He can proof it for you.
He laughs at me. They're always like my wife and Barry and all them. It's like, why didn't you let me proofread this? And I go, I don't know. I thought I spelled it right. I'm sorry. And they go, well, you can fix it. And I'm like, I'm not fixing it. I don't care. I'm not fixing it.
Yeah. I have to agree with Owen. I think there's
he's right.
Typos are going to happen, right? But we live in the technological age. Email it to somebody. Get them to proofread it.
I know. I know. So bad.
Send them a PDF. Say, hey, please read this for me. I'm not sure I quite understand this. We may have to have Owen explain this. He says there's a group who dress up their comic book characters as established characters from other mediums and charge an arm and a leg for those covers.
The what?
Okay. So there's a group who, and I think he's trying to not mention the group, which I appreciate. There's a group who dress up their comic book characters as established characters from other mediums and charge an arm and a leg for those covers. So when we think other mediums, I'm thinking like television and film. And so if you take your comic book character and make it like, I don't know, Harry Potter or something like that. I don't know. I don't guess I'm quite following that one.
Owen, write some more stuff. Tell us what you're talking about.
Explain it a little more, Owen. We're not really sure what you mean there.
Explain it. Yeah.
All right. So
Well, I got another thing with lettering that I wanted to say. If I want to read a book, I'll buy a novel. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I'm right there with you because, quite honestly, that's probably my biggest pet peeve. Is, comics are supposed to be show, not tell, and there's a lot. And of course, this is also in the mainstream, unfortunately, quite a bit.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's not just it's kind of the indie stuff. Yeah,
I mean, probably this is one for all of comics. Is this the over narratization, over dialoguing? I mean, you're almost like, the writer feels like he's got to earn his keep or something. It's like, I'm sorry, but there's a reason the artist is there, and you need to utilize. If you aren't the same guy, you're not the guy that draws what you write. You're telling this guy you're not important. I'm trying to show my importance it's like you're explaining the same thing that the picture's showing. That's just and it's across the board. It's not just indie comics. I mean, you see a lot of indie comics, but like I said, this is a general. But that's one of my biggest pet peeves. Is like show, don't tell. If the drawing is saying it, maybe you shouldn't recover it. I mean, this isn't early '80s Marvel. This is a different situation here. You don't have to over the exposition too much.
Well, I'll also take I'll also go to the very opposite end of the spectrum in that I don't want to look at a picture book. I stopped looking at picture books when I was 4. And while I absolutely love comic book art, I love comic book art. When I buy a comic book, I want to read it. I don't want it to be a novel, but I want to read it. I want, words in all of the panels so that I can stay there long. I find that when I in independent comics, I think can be particularly bad about this. I'm thinking of a few I'm not going to mention. So when I look at them, when I sit down to read them, if they've got no words on them, I literally do this: flip, 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 and I'm like, okay, well that I spent $5 at the show or $10 at the Kickstarter, and it took me 5 minutes to read. Oh no, there's a happy medium in there somewhere between
there is.
picture book and novel.
I'm wondering if it's because being more of the I write my own stuff. Mike does too. Besides doing the art, so maybe we're kind of wanting to see more of the art, and because you're the writer guy, you kind of want to see more of the. But you told the artist what to draw. You already had your highlight. You're already done, Roland. Get out of the way. Let us do our part now. And put a little blurb on there going whammo, and then be done.
Listen. Pete's not here, so I'm going to put words in his mouth, right?
Oh.
He said this once before, and I had never, as far as I know, Pete's the only guy I've ever heard say this. Pete's like, I like it when you put words in the panel. And I'm like, why is that? And he goes, because it makes the reader stop and look at my art. And I'm like, gee, I've never thought about that before, but he's right. If there are no words, again, you're going to flip, 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 right? But if there are words, you got to stop and read it. So you're going to stop at each panel and look at the art in the panel. So,
I'm guessing if there's too much, when there's
I agree. I agree with that.
If there's a bunch of people standing around talking, of course there should be talking. But if there's some action going and then most of the panel is word balloons, and then there's supposed to be a fight going on or some sort of cool something or another, and then it's just talking.
Yeah, well, what I was talking about, I was talking about saying, okay, so your character is, jumping over something to save the day. You shouldn't use if you're going to use captions, You shouldn't be saying, well, he
jumped over this car and then smacked this guy in the face, which is what you're showing in the drawing.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So you could utilize other dialogue, like what, something else that's going on. I'm not saying don't use the word balloons or use dialogue. I'm just saying don't echo what's being shown in the panel.
Yeah,
it's a waste of space.
What I'm looking at.
Don't tell me what I can see.
Exactly. Use it for something else. Use it for being descriptive, being, his heart's racing, knowing that he has to be there at a certain time because you're already showing that he's running. You're already showing he's jumping over something. So that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. I want to clarify that. I'm not saying that don't use words. I'm just saying don't overuse it. Don't reiterate something I'm already visually seeing. Do something else.
And I am 100% with that. Yeah. I absolutely. And you see a lot of that kind of thing. If you read enough comic, you see that, I think, a lot in the 1950s. And probably some in the early 60s, but you could see, Thor punches Hulk with a mighty blow.
Yeah.
Well, I can see that. I can see it. Don't tell me that. Tell me something else. Tell me Thor didn't eat his Wheaties for breakfast that morning.
Exactly. Yeah. Something's going on with him. But a lot of that. But there was a lot of Marvel in the 80s. I'm sorry, I remember that there was a lot of that. And Aiden going through my collection now, that's some of his complaints. It's like, okay, I'm seeing the picture. Why are you telling me in the captions what he's doing? So it's still something. And again, I've caught it in some Indy Comics. It's like you're just trying to earn your keep as the writer. It's like, well, you can do something else. You don't have to be descriptive. You can use there's a lot of different ways of telling the story because you don't have to show because the artist is already doing that. You're already telling the person, over telling the person. So that's just me. It's just over repetitive.
Well, and this is why it's called our pet peeves, right?
Yeah.
And when you're talking about, Pete, the dialogues, that's me because, I write, I draw my book.
Yeah.
But when I'm putting down the lettering, I'm thinking about that too. I'm thinking, okay, if I want to put this guy's or the reader's eyes on something that I drew, I'm going to move the lettering where I want them to see because they're going to go there and look. Yeah. So I'm right there with Peter on that. It's like you're making, if they're tracing the lettering, they're going to be looking at the panel a lot longer.
Yeah. Ogun clarified a little bit here. He said, I think that's tacky. They steal from video games and anime and copy their outfits. Gotcha. I can't think of any, and don't mention them, Ogun. I can't think of any that come to mind, but I think that's, I can't do One Punch Man, so I'm going to, and I don't know if someone's done that.
Yeah.
I can't do One Punch Man. I watched the first episode of that deal. Have y'all seen One Punch Man?
No, I thought you were making up some.
No. So I have a lot of students talk about, and I'm going down a rabbit trail here. Students talk about One Punch Man a lot. So Brett and I said, we're like, hey, let's watch the first, because he'd never seen it, and he'd heard about it too. And we watched it. I don't get anime sometimes, y'all. I just don't. I watched the whole first episode. When we were done, Brett looked over at me and he said, "We're not going to watch any more episodes, are we?" I'm like, no, we'll watch something else.
What is it? I'll give it a shot.
Okay. Yeah, do that. Watch the first episode.
No, what's it on? What's streaming?
Netflix, I think.
Okay.
I think that's where we saw it. Aaron Humphreys, what's up, Aaron? He says, my God, legs. Comic has very little words, like 5 or so. So Aaron has a picture book, right?
Oops.
Yeah. And we know, of course, they have no sound effects.
Oh, that's true. Aaron doesn't like sound effects.
Aaron says, strangely enough, I look at the art less with word balloons and more at the art when there are no words because the art is Well, we've already decided, Aaron, that you're like not the normal person. And because the art is carrying the story at the time. Then again, I like pretty pictures. Well, I think we all like pretty pictures because we're into comics, right? So we all like the pretty pictures. Let's see. Owen says typos aren't bad, but it's you and I, not you and me, for example. Well, it all depends on how you use it. To be honest with you. But I see that kind of thing a lot. So here's an asterisk I would put to that, Owen. If it's dialogue, and it's consistent with the character, I'm okay with it, because that means this is the way the character speaks. And so the character is making this mistake rather than the writer. Now, that's my asterisk, is the writer needs to know what they're doing. But if it is dialogue, I can overlook it a little if it seems to be consistent with the language of the character speaking.
So that's what I'm doing. I'm doing it on purpose.
Yeah. Okay. Tommy, did you have anything else to say about the lettering?
No, I think I've touched all my lettering problems.
But I think you're right. But I think overall, I think you're right. I think bad lettering can really mess up a book. And I think in this day and age, there's no excuse for really bad lettering, because we have the technology, and you don't have to have, Illustrator. There's all kinds of, cheaper software that you can use that can do the same kind of job and Illustrator is probably the most common, but there's all kinds of software that you can use, and the fonts are,
relatively inexpensive.
And so there's really no excuse, I don't think, at this point in time. So who's got the next pet peeve? Wubba, I see you're just biting the inside of your lip.
Yeah. Okay.
No names, but spill it. What you got?
Well, I know it's more of a new thing now with the whole Kickstarter. It's the one issue. They release a number one, and then they move on to another book and release another one, number one.
Got that on my list too.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because I've had a few email. Tommy and I were talking about this the other day. I've had a few people email me saying that that's what we're doing at Silverline. That we're just, and of course then I say, I've been trying to get Wubba to finish number 4. What do you want me to do?
I was just gonna say that. That is not the case at Silverline. My rear end is just late.
No, we got a lot of number 2s and 3s and stuff that we're jamming on, and
we've got several number 3s. Kalis is done. We've got several of them, several that are very close to the end. Cat and Mouse. Kalis is done. Cat and Mouse number 4. Wub is working on.
We're on issue 4 of Trump's now. 3 is done being colored as we speak. Mickey's shown us some colors. They look really good.
Fire Rush is the last. Number 3 is the last issue of that one, and John Martin is inking that one. Twilight Grim number 4 is in Mickey's hands to be colored. So we have a bunch of them that are at the very end and almost done. So
yeah, we're gonna have a bunch of stuff done pretty quick.
Yes, we are.
I don't know if you mentioned. Number 5, Cat and Mouse number 5 is pretty much done.
Yeah. The pencils are done, and Jose Fuentes is inking that one now. So
I'm so giggly excited about that.
Yes, me too.
I like seeing different inkers on me, and he actually communicated with me, so
good.
I was like, cool. So I kind of feel like I'm vibing with him already.
Good. I like to hear that. And I suggested for him, and I know John says I didn't tell him this for Fire Rush, but I suggested to him not to start on page 1, to start on page. Tommy and I, we talked way back when.
Yeah, that was one of my things that you had. Great.
Start on like page 10 or something like that.
Jump in a little bit. Yep.
You don't want the first page that you're trying to feel your way into a new penciler.
Mess up the very first page, exactly.
Yeah, so I don't know exactly where Jose is going to end up starting, but he said, I think he said he was going to do something like that. So, So all right, so these companies, these people who do one issue and then you don't see anymore.
Yeah, that is so annoying.
Yeah.
Especially with especially if they actually take the care to actually make it really good.
Yeah.
And then you actually want a second issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. There was a company back in the 90s. I won't mention their name. They were notorious for
Are they
it.
Are they don't exist anymore?
They do not exist anymore.
You can mention them by name then.
Oh, Lightning Comics.
Oh yeah.
They were notorious for releasing ones and moving on to another book.
Mm.
I think Bloodfire and Judgment Day were the only two books that ran multiple issues, and that was at the very beginning of Lightning. But once they got popular, it was just TNA and number one.
I remember those.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, I know that's one of the reasons that companies like Malibu did a lot of miniseries, is because it was a limited commitment on their part, because they're like, hey, we don't know if this is going to work, so we're going to do a miniseries, and if it works, we can always come back and do another miniseries, or we can go, you know, we can do a maxi series or an ongoing series at that point in time. You know,
see, and I appreciate that. I appreciate, you know, 2 issues, 3 issues, you know, or just plain out saying it's a one shot, you know?
Yeah. If you know that, yeah.
So, I mean, that stuff's cool.
Yeah.
It's starting to come back into fad now, Kickstarter, with the ones and 300 covers for that one issue.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I just, you know, I mean, I variant covers are cool. You know, we do the variant covers because we have backers who like that, and I have zero problems with it. But 300, you know, the so many different covers for the one thing at the same. You know, now I get it if you were gonna like reprint it, you're like, okay, hey, this was the first run, and now we're gonna do a second run, and we're gonna do another cover. But to release them all at the same time, that's a pet peeve of mine. But I don't think that's an indie thing, though. I think that's
an everybody thing.
Yeah. What was it a couple years ago when Marvel released Fantastic Four #1? Did they have something like 100 covers? Let's just go to the Google.
I know there was one. I know they did one about states. I can't remember which comic that was. I know they released one for every state in the country.
That's at least 50 covers. Yeah.
Yeah. So I can't remember what comic that was, but
that's a pretty good scam. I like that idea. Every state gets their own book.
Right? Yeah, they got their own book. And they can order it.
That's a good scam.
I remember signing autographs at a local store. I won't mention the store just because. But at a local store when that came out, and and they had, you know, like a lot of stores, they have the racks on the walls. There was an entire rack devoted to nothing
one book,
but Fantastic Four #1. And of course, me as a creator, I'm looking at it and I'm going like, so many, you could have had so many other books here. You could have, I don't know how many was on a rack, but I'm just going to say 20, right? I'm like, you could have had 19 independent comics there.
And that realtor had to buy all those different books for no reason whatsoever. Yeah.
It's just like, come on. I'm looking forward to see if I can find covers.
Well, while you're doing that, Bubba, so what is your the flip side of doing the one book and then not doing issue 2 or whatever? What about those guys that do the one book and they claim that they're working on issue 2 for year after year, and then you see them at a show and they show you some pages from issue 2, and it's like, it's coming, and they just never get it done. What do you think about about those number 2s?
The only really experience that I've ever had with that is waiting on a particular Image book back in the 90s.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And with that, always worth it when they actually came out. But it can get annoying. I mean, if it comes out and it looks like crap because they're like, oh, shoot, I got to get this out real quick, yeah, then I get pretty annoyed about it. But if it's late and it comes out and it looks good, I don't know. I forgive them pretty easily.
Yeah, Image was, of course, notorious for that back in the 90s.
Yep.
Yeah. There's one particular Canadian creator that was way notorious. Yeah.
Let's see. I'm trying to think. What year would that have been? 2018? Is that right? Yeah. I think that must be 2018. Been that long ago? All right, let's see if I can Google it that way. I can't find it. 2018. Let me try the year. 24 comic issues. All right, so next pet peeve. Anybody?
No, I think I covered all mine.
Well, I've got some. This is not about other people's stuff. I say my list I wrote down was I had to characterize but this doesn't have, some of the stuff I wrote down here doesn't have anything to do with independent stuff. I wrote down, I have pet peeves because you and I have been going to shows for so long. I hate creators that think their poop don't stink. That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really bothers me so bad. When you're on, you could be on top for 1 minute because all of a sudden whatever you did, your book sold 1 million copies or whatever, and you think that you're just you're it, and then you're burning bridges, and then all of a sudden nobody remembers you, and then you still have an attitude when you show up at show. I hate those guys. God.
Yeah.
See that a lot over the past 30 some odd years of doing this. Just be nice to everybody. That's one of my some of my other little pet peeves things that I wrote down is like, I hate halos. Did I tell you guys that? Roland, that I hate halos around artwork.
Yeah.
It's me. I hate halos. But some of this doesn't have anything to do with our subject.
Question for you, Tommy.
Do what? Yeah, it's a personal problem for me.
So Tommy, the whole Halo thing. So as a penciler, sometimes I'll drop them in because there needs to be some kind of a separation. So
sometimes there does. Sometimes there does. But then when you got like somebody standing in a scene where it's like a starry background and you put this halo around them or whatever, it's like, that doesn't need to be there. And it for me, right. And this is probably a personal thing, I would think, because I know I've had this argument over the past 30 years with everybody, and some people agree and some people don't agree. I do my best when I'm inking something if these halos are in there and they don't need to be there, and it still has the depth, because as an inker, my job is to build all that depth and stuff, and then and try to make that page pop, and then all of a sudden there's this weird halo. It just, all of a sudden my eye goes, where this doesn't work right, and it just bothers me sometimes. But no, sometimes it's got to be there. If you got like I'm not just being silly. You're in a dark room, and then Black Man walks in. Well, you can't see him because he's totally blind. So it's got to have some sort of an effect going on. But just because my arm passes, I've got a dark suit and my arm passes in front of a black background, I don't have to have a big halo on the top and bottoms of the arm. That's kind of silly. So I try not to. I try to make that look right when I'm inking it.
My thing with halos when I'm penciling is I think it's leading to a tangent. Then I'll cut a halo. I'll cut a halo in just to avoid the tangent. But I don't have to redraw everything.
Oh, tangents! You and John with your tangents. I don't have problems with tangents as some people do. I'm seeing a bunch of them here in this thing that Pete drew and everything, and I'm trying to fix them a little bit, because you don't want well, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to make Pete mad at me.
some of that can be fixed in colors, right? I mean, when you're doing a
You
color
can.
book,
You just don't want one piece of a line, like my arm here on the sofa. I don't, you can't see so much, but if my arm is even with the top part of the sofa,
right?
it messes up the depth of the thing behind the sofa. And, so you would want to, you should have drawn the arm a little further down. So that way you see the top of the sofa, or I should have drawn the arm on top of the sofa so it makes it so the sofa looks like it's got a top. So, it's those tangent things that are lines that cross over, into other lines that where it messes up your eye. Is that
Yeah,
Bubba?
Yeah.
it's a bad tangent will just screw up the whole art experience. Your eye doesn't really have anywhere to rest.
No,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. Okay,
I
so
mean-
apparently Fantasy Four. Sorry, I think I finally found it. Apparently, Fantasy Four #1 had 30 variant covers. So
Woo-wee.
this is not the
Whoa.
one that had the yeah. In total, over 30. It says over 30 variant. Let's see if I can follow this link now. Over 30 variant covers. Oh, and of course that link doesn't work. So yeah. So that's just that's a little bit much, I think. Yeah. All right, so tangents. Owen got another comment. He says miniseries are great for casual comic fans. I love them. Yeah, I think so too. I think they're a way, for comic fans to come in and say, hey, you know what? I don't know who this person, this creator, this company is. I'm gonna try this out. And comic book fans like to have it all. We don't like things to be incomplete. Most of us, right? It's like, hey, I want to get this. That's why collecting exists, because we want to buy all the issues that we don't have. And so it gives them limited commitment. They're like, hey, I can buy 4 issues, and if I don't like it, well, I only have to buy 4,
Yeah.
You don't have to buy any of them if you don't like it. But comic fans, that's what we do, right? Well, I bought this one, so I'm gonna buy more.
Whoops. Yeah, you already invested some time into buying the. If you're buying an independent book, and it's and you really like it, it's like you're like, please do another one, please do another one. Yeah, and when you don't.
All right, so I got another pet peeve for you guys. Yeah. So recently, back to Kickstarter, and the book. So it's one of the most exciting for me. It was one of the books that I've been the most excited about getting, and I'm not even going to mention it. In a long time, I'm like, this looks really good. The artwork looks good. It's a nifty sounding story, a little twist on some things. Right? It's so good. It's a graphic novel, so it's big, and I'm like, all right. And I get it in. And I'm flipping through it. I'm like, well, this looks really good. I'm glad I got it. And I, I don't normally do this, but I looked at the last page, and look, this is a thick graphic novel. Do you know what it said?
I guess to be continued. I guess.
Yes, to be continued. I'm like, no.
Finish this thing.
Graphic novel. I've been waiting on this thing for a year already. Don't be continued, me. Finish the story. Oh my gosh, I was so upset. What, Wubba? What are you laughing at?
Because I actually don't mind that stuff.
No!
Well, because I have my artsy fartsy streaks. And I love Vertigo kind of stuff. So sometimes if it's to be continued, I'm like, yay, more. So.
I mean, I don't, if I like it, I don't mind more, but finish.
Well, there's more, and then you had the room to finish it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was super excited about it. And the book still, again, flipping through it, the book still looks really good, and I'm excited to read it. But my excitement level has decreased a little bit because I'm almost kind of like, well, maybe I don't want to read it now because I want to wait to see if this creator is going to do anymore, because I want the complete story. I want.
Well, Rowan, you don't know because you hadn't read it. Maybe the whole book was the story, and then the last 4 or 5 pages, something else happened to continue it. But it did end.
Right.
Yeah. But now you don't know. Now you're not going to read his book.
No, I didn't say I wouldn't.
That's a good point. It could be just a setup. Like if they finish the story and then kind of like lead into the next one.
It could be. Yep, you're right.
But you don't know. You haven't read it.
You're never going to read it.
Well, it's still sitting on my nightstand, so I haven't moved it from my nightstand to my don't read this pile yet. It's still on my read this pile, right? Okay.
He's not reading it.
I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it just because you guys say I'm not going to.
All right, next week you can tell us if it was an actual continued story or if it just didn't finish.
I'll finish moving to Mississippi before he finishes that book.
Probably.
No. No. You've been talking about moving for way too long. Nope, I'll finish this book first.
The date is a hard set now. It's all been cleared with my boss, and yeah.
What part of Mississippi you moving to?
Natchez.
No, okay, all right.
Yeah.
I've already had talk with Roland about dealing with some of the utility companies down there. Fun. You are a major inconvenience on their day.
Yep.
Every once in a while you get a nice one. But...
Yeah, it's always best in person. Go in person if you can, and take care of it. All right, who's got the next pet peeve?
Oh, golly, we've gone through. Even though I shoehorned some of these in there that really didn't belong. I'm going over. Yeah, go for it.
Bubba.
The books that start all black and white and then flip over to color.
Do you mean in the same printing, or in like one issue is black and white and the next one is color?
One issue is black and white, the next one's color, then the one after that's grayscale, then it's black and white, then it's color again.
Oh, that would annoy me too. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, especially if it's but the penciling inking part is still the same person or the same kind of art, but all of a sudden they decided to make one. You think they're trying to do to be artsy kind of thing, or
it happened. When I was younger, the indie guys from like the late '80s, early '90s, I saw more of that. But it's like we didn't have enough money to like colorize this print run, so we ran to black and white. Well, we had a little bit extra money, so we grayscaled it. And we sold enough of this issue, so we colored it.
Stick to something, right?
Yeah. So it just made it hard to read, follow the book, and keep on it because you never knew what you were getting. Like, I'm a black and white guy. I love black and white. And if it's done well, like a couple bucks worth that I'm thinking of, they could have just kept it that way and they would have just kept selling.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they stopped printing altogether because the last couple books were colored and then people quit buying them. So,
yeah.
So that's annoying.
That is annoying.
The other thing is that I never see black and white books on Kickstarter. That's annoying as crap too. I understand we live in an age of technology and whatnot, but black and white is beautiful when done right.
Done right, yeah.
I hadn't even thought about that. I can't think of a black and white book on Kickstarter.
You're right. We still at Kablam. It used to be at the beginning when we started 15 years ago. It was of course everybody was doing black and whites. Most of the stuff was black and white. A good 80-90% of everything was black and white, and then now it's kind of flipped. Now it's almost good 70% color now, and just a very few black and white books. And we're printing way more books than we were then. So we're printing lots more color. And it might just be because we've made it easier for people to do color. So maybe that has something to do with it. I'm not sure.
I would think so. Because I mean, you and I talk about this some. It's far easier to be an independent comic book maker today, than it was, 20 years ago. I mean, I kind of, this is 22, so it'd been 02. I kind of stopped already by 2002, but late 90s and 2000, 2001, you didn't have the print on demand yet. You were still going to traditional printers, and you were still getting, 3,000 copies of your black and white comic that you had to do. So,
Mike, all of your books are color, right?
Yep, all of them are color.
Yeah.
See, I mean, I know for me, it's just a personal thing.
Oh, I love black and white art, dude.
Oh yeah, black and white's great.
But I mean, especially with the paper that Kablam uses, which is that really bright white stuff.
Yeah.
It really, really makes grayscale black and white books pop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you get really nice clarity. It's not like the old newsprint from back in the 80s, kind of dinging it up a little bit. But
yeah.
So that's my thing. I'd like to see more of those come back. That feels indie to me,
Yeah. Well, okay. So there's a question. So you say it feels indie to you. Do you think it feels indie to you because it feels cheaper, or?
No, it feels indie to me because I'm old.
Okay, fair enough.
That was. I mean, all of us were about all the same age, a little older, some of us. Mm-hmm. But we all grew up. That was our indie books. They were all pretty much all black and white. I mean, even a big company like DH, they were doing black and white books.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
concrete.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
to me, I think one of the things that was special about Elementals as an indie book was it was in color.
Yeah.
It was like, wow, this is an independent book that's in color.
To me, it's when they start out the black and white and then they actually go full-time color, not the back and forth stuff, but full-time color. To me, that shows that company is actually growing and they actually with the black and white stuff.
Yeah.
I know it my thing's a little nitpicky, but
no, it's all good. So we could say the same thing about Silverline, right? Because we were all black and white back in the 90s, and now it's all color.
Yep.
Well, it's a different world, different technology. I mean, people perceive things differently, especially with digital comics.
Mm-hmm.
The black and whites were a convenience because, as you said, you had to go to a web press and get 2,000 or 3,000 copies if you were doing it. So, the guy doing the Weekend Warrior stuff couldn't afford that.
Right.
But, in today's world of digital, anybody has access to color. And, again, as much as I love black and white, there's a lot of color work out there that is very fair value that should be done in color.
Yeah.
But again, it's a sign of the times. It's more of the times than I think than it's anything else, because I think, there were some great guys in the 80s that utilized that black and white to the absolute fullest. They knew what their limitations were, and they knew how to make it look great and competitive. Mm-hmm. But today, it's a different world, and we perceive things differently. And I think color, when it comes to publishing, is kind of a no-brainer because it can be affordable for just every level of publishing. So I think that's the reason you just kind of have the backing away of black and white. I think it's the accessibility.
Yeah. One of my all-time favorite black and whites, which I would argue with you today, it still holds up, is Cerebus.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Gerhard and those backgrounds. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I've been on a reread of them here lately. So, and they're still good. They still hold up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I could give you a list of black and whites that still hold up. Cerebus, Concrete still is amazing.
Oh yeah.
The old Roach Mill.
I just discovered Roach Mill. I literally I found it in the cheap box, and I'm like, you know what? I remember this being published, but I never read it. And so I'm like, it's in the cheap box. I'm gonna buy it. I read it. And I'm like, this is really good. Why did I buy this in the 1980s? It's like, what the heck?
Another one, John Byrne's Nextman. That was originally black and white. Beautiful work.
I don't remember that being black and white. I've got them.
Was it the graphic novel black and white, and then the series was in color? I don't think the whole.
It was originally printed in Dark Horse Presents.
Okay.
And then I think there were the first couple of issues that were black and white, and then he had printed like a graph or like a trade in black and white, and then he brought it back as color. So yeah.
Okay. I must have jumped on when he brought it back then, because I don't remember it ever. Being
everything
black and white.
Yeah, everything. Most of those guys at Legend, they're, Miller and Byrne and all, they all debuted their characters in the Dark Horse Present, so they came out black and white.
Yeah, that's true.
Which that was a huge treat, seeing like Arthur Adams in black and white. And, Magnolia and all those guys.
Yeah. What's another pet peeve?
Late Kickstarters. That's about the most blanket thing. And what's really funny is the late Kickstarters I have are done by mainstream professionals that are doing indie work. I think guys that are mostly that do indie work, I get them on time.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, I get really. That's a major pet peeve of mine, and I need to really hold my tongue.
Yeah, no names.
No names, but I just really have a problem with Kickstarters that, they are right at the bat talking about this great project, and they're, some of the money they're going to use to keep themselves employed for a couple months so they can totally devote to getting this book done and in your hands. And 3.5 years later, you're still waiting for the book, and most of the email updates are, "We're getting to it."
Yeah.
And and like I said, no names.
Nope.
I have a major pet peeve. Like I said, what cracks me up is most of my late Kickstarters I've ever gotten are by professionals who are doing their own indie work, and they keep putting other work in front of it, and they're trying to get to it. And it's like, well, I could have tried to get you my money 3.5 years later, but you took it when the Kickstarter was over because you made your goal. I have a major problem with that.
I do too. Yep. And especially because, as you know, it's from professionals who you think, oh, this is a professional. They've worked for, 20, 30, 40 years, and I've loved all this and this and this and that. I love these projects by them. They're going to do a Kickstarter. How fantastic is that? Take my money.
Yep.
And then you're like, yeah, you took my money.
You took my money.
I will tell you this, no names, but about a year ago, maybe, there had been a Kickstarter that I had backed from a professional. It'd been like 5 years, 4 years, something like that. And this professional made an offer for refunds. I took him up on it. I'm like, yeah, give me my money back.
Yep.
It's like, I'll go spend it on another Kickstarter.
Yeah.
When you get your book done, maybe I'll get it. But yeah, I'm not going to let you just hold on to my money. You're not a bank. I mean, you're not an investment firm.
Yeah, and as well as I do, 3.5 years. Well, by the time this book is probably going to be at the 4th or 5th year, that money's not there anymore. They didn't keep that money.
That was going to be my point. That what you were talking about. All those big Kickstarter money people, and I call them the Kickstarter booby books is what we like to call them over it. And and they make all of this money, and you're like, oh, these, and then you go like, these people don't know how to produce a comic book all on their own, and it's like they just sold, they've got $10,000 or $100,000 or whatever. It's like, that book's never going to come out. You just know it's not. You just look.
I will say this. I'll tell you who does know how to do it, and he's a friend. It's Tim Lim and Mark Pellegrini, the folks who do Common America.
Okay.
These guys make so much bank on their Common America. Mark Pellegrini actually was on the Tuesday show. They talked about bunch of anime stuff. I can't remember. Farron's still around. He can probably remember what they talked about. But these guys, I met them at a little bitty show in Arkansas, and they had just started doing. I think they had done something called Black Hops back then. It's basically a rabbit. Instead of Black Ops, is Black Hops, right? Ha ha ha, rabbit. But they figured it out. They figured out how to do it, and we're talking like 100,000 books kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, maybe not that many. Maybe 10. Let me look up. Maybe like 10,000 books. Still, is a bunch of them. Kickstarter. But these guys have figured it out. You know.
So I have a question about the whole pro thing. Do you ever want to give them like the benefit of the doubt because they have a record of hitting their deadlines every single month, and now that they have no editor to squish them, or whatever, that they're just trying to get it right, on their terms. Like
maybe some of them are. But no, I mean, I don't give them latitude because again,
they're professionals.
It's professionals, and this, especially if you're doing a Kickstarter, it's even more. I mean, get your crap together. I mean, look at Silverline. I mean, he's been able. You've got the Silverline's been able to fulfill their book. I mean, it's not a hard thing. It's called professionalism. And these guys, they go in and they say, well, when we did X book together for 3 years at Marvel, DC, blah, blah, blah. We know how to put a book together and we know how to keep a deadline. And then they run the Kickstarter and they're using all this, so-and-so is going to do a cover and so-and-so is going to do some artwork. And then, hey, we made goal. And then, 2 months later, well, my blank, he got some freelance work. And so he's going to have to do 4 issues of blank before he can get to us. But as soon as he gets those 4 issues, and then the next email is, hey, well,
then it's a year later.
He had to go on the convention circuit. He had conventions to go to, and he had sketches, and he's posting sketches. Well, you're drawing,
right?
Why can't you draw the book? And so, like I said, you got 3.5, and these are guys I really like. I mean, a good majority of them are, but they talk about, well, little Junior got sick, and so I couldn't do it. It's like, okay, there are things I understand, and then there's things that, again, as a business, you're doing this as a business.
Junior's not drawing the book.
Yeah. So, those are the kind of things that kind of get at me. It's kind of like you took my money in bad faith. You promised me that this money was contributing to giving you an income for the 3 or 4 months you thought this would take you to do this project.
Yep.
And then almost 4 years later, you're not even halfway through, and the writing's not even done. That's the even funnier part. Yeah. The writer and the artist are 2 different people. I mean, so why, like you said, for 3.5 years, why isn't the book written?
Right. Yeah.
This is the stuff that kind of gets at me. This is the stuff that they don't get penalized for, but Indy Comics get penalized for it. So it's the peeve again when you got someone like you guys. I mean, like us, it's the books are fulfilled, but is that specter of those late books cast an eye on everybody else who does Kickstarters or Indiegogos?
Yeah,
it's bad faith. These guys aren't fulfilling their obligation, but they're hiding behind their professionalism.
Yeah,
and it's just, again, it's a business. This is a business. As soon as you give your first bit of money or take your first bit of money for somebody, you're doing this as a business. Whether you're the weekend warrior or you're somebody who's trying to use Kickstarter as an income, you're still, this is a level of professionalism that, again, Indie Comics sometimes doesn't always fulfill. But unfortunately, again, it's the smaller ones that get the brunt of it when they don't even aren't the offenders. Again, a great number of Kickstarters I do fulfill because they understand it. But again, the biggest offenders are these professionalism, supposedly mainstream guys that come in.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I just brought that up because, like, there's one particular pro creator that I've been waiting on for 5, almost 6 years. And on one side, I'm like, I really want that book. I know it's going to look good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the trade-off. Yeah.
So
But I think what for me the problem is, and I think that this is one of the things that hurts us, is that when those pro creators bring in people who don't normally back Kickstarters, you think, oh, this is a great opportunity for them to bring in a new audience to crowdfunders, right? It's like,
right.
Hey, they're bringing their fans in, and their fans are like, hey, look at this Kickstarter thing. This is pretty cool. I can get comics on Kickstarter, and they can flip through and see all the stuff. But then they're like, I'm going to wait and see because I really like this pro creator. I'm going to wait and get this book, but then I might try some of these other stuff out.
Right. Yeah.
And then they never get their book. So then they're looking at, like you said, people like Silverline. They're, well, I never heard of them. The book looks kind of, or these books look kind of cool, but I'm still waiting on book from pro creator. So I'm just going to wait, because if the pro creator couldn't deliver, why are these guys going to be able to? How are these guys going to be able to do it if this pro can't do it? How are they going to be able to do it?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it trickles down. Everything, it affects everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Common America, guys. Common America, they had 3,432 backers on their last one, $153,000. They've got one that's live now. They've got, I don't know how long it's been live, but it's got another 48 days. They run long Kickstarters. It's got 48 days to go, and they've got 1,500 backers already and $76,000. Yeah, the thing about it is, though, these guys know how to deliver. They figured it out. I don't know if they had bumps early in the road. I don't know, but they figured it out. They figured out how to get it done, and now they kind of got it. Like Brian Pulido, right?
Yeah, Pulido
does it. I think Pulido does about 4 a year, something like that. One every quarter. And dude, He's got it figured out. He's got it figured out. And so, my question sometimes is like, okay, pro creator, why don't you go ask Brian Pulido what he did? Right? Clearly he's got it figured out. And Brian, these guys, they got to know who Brian Pulido is, because it's not, I mean, if you're a pro creator, you had to have been living under a rock the last 30 years you were a creator to not know who you might not know him personally, but to not know who Brian Pulido is, or Jimmy or Palmiotti or somebody, go ask somebody like that who's delivered, So yeah, it's that was a good one, Mike. That's one of my pet peeves too.
I feel so cleansed right now. I just had to get that out.
You made a lot of people mad, but you needed to say.
Yeah.
Well, my mama used to say, they got the same pants to get glad in.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know where that saying came from. My mama's the only guy I know. Well, I'd get mad, and she'd say, well, you got the same pants to get glad in. I don't even know what that means, Mom. Other pet peeves. Anything about printing at all?
Well, I'm not going to try to get into trouble. People,
I don't want to get you in trouble.
People that don't follow simple instructions. That's all I'm going to say.
That's like the whole world, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. Oh, golly, we were talking this week in the office. It was 2 or 3. I've always got. Oh, golly, you're going to get me in trouble.
Don't mention names.
I'm not mentioning any names, but just the fact that I'm saying it is going to get me in trouble. I mean, they're probably not watching, but just when a thing that keeps happening over and over, day in and day out over at the office, is you ask for somebody's printing, they're sending their pages over, right? And you go, hey, I got your pages. I'm missing the inside back cover in page 24. Say it's a 24-page book, right? And you go, I'm missing page 24 in the inside back cover. And they write back, well, I sent you the front cover. And you're like, are you not even reading?
You're like,
we get that all day long. That kind, you guys don't understand. Yeah, I mean, we know that Barry's losing some hair, and I think this is the reason why.
yeah.
And Mike knows Barry pretty well too. But it's like, yeah, just answering simple, or you ask for one thing and they just won't. They go, well, I sent you page 23, and I'm like, I asked for page 24. 24 inside back cover. And they go, well, does it need to be the same size as the rest of the book? And I'm like, well, of course it does, but you still didn't send page 24 or the inside back cover. And you got we see, you're going to get me in trouble. We'll have
no names.
No names. Barry, and Jennifer will go, here, look at this. And there'll be like 15 things going back and forth. And the first one is, I need this page. And back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. 5 days later, and then they get pissed off that their book didn't ship on time. And it's like, because I'm still missing page 24. Do you want? I'm going to leave it blank. I'm just going to put a blank page in there. If you don't.
What you need to do, you need to create another house ad, right?
And you're right. You can't do that either, because then I'll have to reprint it, and that'll cost money out of my pocket.
Yeah, I know, but still.
Oh, God. Yeah, just people not following the simplest instructions, are not reading, and we also discovered, this is something for everybody out there sending emails to stuff. Don't ask for 2 different things in an email at one time if you're trying to get somebody that's not quite sure what they're doing, because they'll answer one maybe and never answer the other one, and then they get mad that you're asking them again something because of, why didn't you tell me this the first time? I'm like, I asked you 2 things before, and you so you ask one thing and then work that out for a week and a half, and then you ask the second thing. You don't ask for 2 or 3. Oh, and my goodness, don't ask for a list of things. Oh, don't do that.
I messed up using the chat and logged before saying bye, guys. Bye, Wubba.
Bye.
Glad you got to join us tonight, Wubba. It was fun. Hopefully, you can do it again on a regular basis.
Yeah, it was good to see.
Yeah. So you know what, Tommy? I wonder if there was. I wonder if there's because we just called it a pagination guide at Malibu. And even back before when we were doing, when we tried to do this stuff pre-Malibu, I did, and for lack of I didn't know it was a pagination guide at the time, but it's really what I ended up doing. Where's me a blank piece of paper? I literally just, I'm going to see if you guys can see this. I'm going to go solo here on me. But I would take and I would draw basically the comic as if you're looking at it, right?
That's too complicated, Roll.
No. So I see those are the pages, right?
No, that makes perfect sense to me.
This is the cover. This is the inside front cover. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right. I would make me a little thing like this, right?
Yeah.
And that's enough of me here. And then that was my pagination guide. That's how I knew what I needed to have. And even when I ended up at Malibu, we had to do the same kind of thing, right? We had to fill these pagination guides out. And we were usually told, you're going to have ads on this page, this page, this page, this page, right? They would tell you where the ads would go. Yeah. And then as the editor, you then had to fill in where all the other story pages went. If you didn't have enough story pages, which we had a regular count, you're like, okay, well, we can have a letters page, an editorial page, or house ads, right? But you knew you had X number of pages to fill because you had to print them.
Right.
Yeah.
It don't work.
People only, it's the laziness of, social media. I think that's what contributes to the way people read emails now. I think everything is so force-fed to people. They think that people automatically either read their minds or what they meant to say, or don't you know that I did this right and you're doing it wrong? it's I get it the same way during doing business myself. Just graphic design. It's people don't pay attention.
People telling you who've done it for 30 plus years, you're doing it wrong.
I'm doing it wrong.
Wait. Yeah. Something's wrong with that picture. Yeah. It probably doesn't surprise you guys at all, but this is one of the biggest issues I have with students is they just don't read it. They don't read directions. And then they get mad at me when I give them a 0 and they're like, yeah, but I turned it in. I'm like, yeah, but you didn't turn the assignment in. The assignment says do this. You didn't do that. You did what you wanted to do. you did something. You turned something in. Yeah, but you didn't turn in what the assignment says this. And they're like, well, but I didn't read that part. Well, that's not on me.
That's why you got a 0. Come on. What are you arguing with me about?
Yeah. So that that's a whole other rabbit trail.
I know. I should try not to get into trouble. I know exactly what you're
yeah. So this has been fun. Pet peeves, as Mike said.
I got two. I got 2 last pet peeves.
2 more. Okay.
No, but they're from my wife. They're from Renee.
All right.
Okay. The one pet peeve, and I'm reading because I wrote it down. She told me to write this down. She said, Renee's number 1 pet peeve is me, being me, Thomas, running her out of the living room on Sunday at 8 p.m. That's one pet peeve. And then the number 2 pet peeve is how come at 9:30 we're not done? That's her other. It's literally I got it. It's on my little sheet right here.
Yeah, I guess I should see that BJ send me a list.
Yeah.
Did I get a list of stuff pet peeves from her?
Yeah, we have now. I just thought I should have done it this past week. Since we got back from all of our running around and visiting back home and all the stuff, we've got. She wants me to set up a little area in one of our bedrooms where I can put the little banners up in the background, like I used to do. You remember I used to put the banners and all that kind of stuff, rather than just living room stuff and the Christmas tree and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, home, blessed home looks good, right?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty stuff.
Yeah. Although I will tell you, shift over a little bit. Your M is a little tough to see, so it kind of looks like blessed hoe.
Blessed I mean, that's what it's supposed to be.
Sorry. I'm really going to get in trouble with Renee now. Leave it there. See how long it takes her to spot.
Oh, no, she'll see as soon as she comes in. She's probably listening now.
Yeah. So this was fun. Talking about pet peeves. So, Mike, it was so good.
It was, man. Thank you.
Definitely. Man. I will return.
Good.
I will return.
Yeah, we have missed your voice here, sir. So, you don't need an invitation from us.
I know.
You got the. You're on the little the group chat. So all you got to do is click the link and join us.
And I will be doing that a lot more regularly.
Good.
I settled down. I can do it. So
that's good to hear. Here.
Thumbs up. Thumbs up.
Do let Carrie know that we appreciate her sharing your time, her time with us.
I will definitely pass. I think they were tired of me today being Father's Day. I think they were just like, okay, you can leave the room now. Get off the TV now.
Happy Father's Day, everybody. Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day, everyone. Yeah.
One of those, if you'll just go, we don't have to wait on you anymore, right? Yeah. So, okay. Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Let me see here. As always, we want to remember our sponsor, Daytona Beach Comic Con. You guys make your plans in September. Shout out to Orlando Collector Deviants. Big love to Coliseum of Comics. If you are in Orlando and you need Silverline Comics, go by them. Tell them we sent you specifically. Go to Claremont and go to East Colonial. Ask for the Silverline Comics. They've got some good ones there. And then, of course, Kablam. If you need your comic printed,
the number 1 comic book printing company in the world.
Awesome.
Let's see here.
We're trying.
21st. So you guys tune in on Tuesday for that Silverline show on Tuesday, where these guys are going to be talking about achieving an aesthetic identity.
Oh, boy.
Jim and the crew will be talking about that. And then the Wednesday Whammers will be here Wednesday, and they're going to be talking about giant monster mayhem. We will be back next week, and we're going to questions from Pod Deck.
Yeah, we're going to be a little. We're silly normally, but we'll be even more silly next week.
Random questions from the Pod Deck, so that's going to be a lot of fun as we get random questions. Mike, tell people where they can find you on the interwebs.
You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram with Mike W Belcher, and you can go to my web space amkcomics.com to find out all kinds of stuff about Man in the Mask, and I think that's about it.
Which you should go read. And Mike, you've got some free samples, right?
I keep stuff on.
I don't know if I want to spend money on you. You got some free samples they can read. Yeah, excellent.
There you go. Try it out.
Tommy, where can folks find you on the interwebs?
Just go to infernostudios.com. There's some links and stuff there. That's my personal website, but you can just type in Florimonte, Florimonte. I've got to spell it because you always get it wrong. So not you, but I meant them, everybody, right. Not you guys, the other guys.
And so. Sometimes you.
Yeah, sometimes I do.
Sorry. And you can find me on all the socials, Roland Man. Sometimes it's Man Roland. Just look for my caricature. It looks just like my face here. And oh no, I don't have a wristband. Oh no, thank God, Tommy, you're gonna have to help me out here. Remember to
make mine
Silverline. Good night, everyone.
Hi, my name is Sergio Cariello, and make mine Silverline.